I'm Ariel Azor, host of Right This Way, and today we're going to talk about, yeah, you guessed it, the 2020 election. Of course, 2 weeks after the election has actually happened, you'd think we wouldn't still be talking about it. You'd think, okay, it's over, it's done, and I would love for that to be the case. Unfortunately, 2 weeks after the election, we still have absolutely no idea who is going to be the president of the United States in January. We're almost 2 weeks into November now, and we're seeing an insane amount of voter fraud. Now, the left doesn't want you to see this. The mainstream media doesn't want you to see this. They don't want you to know about it. Every single story I hear from mainstream media news networks, anything on Instagram that's from, celebrities or influencers, people like that who are obviously Biden supporters, they just constantly say that Trump is alleging voter fraud with no real evidence. Here's the problem with that statement. There's a ton of evidence, and Trump presents it every single chance he's given. However, the mainstream media doesn't allow you to see it. Want proof? Sure. Fox News this week cut away from a press briefing with Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany when she was providing evidence of voter fraud. They actually cut away from the press briefing. That's not good, honest reporting. Voter fraud, it's not fake. It's not something that the left can explain away, and they know this. They're saying, well, recount? Okay, sure, let's recount. You can't recount voter fraud, fake votes. You can't recount it. You have to audit it to find the fake votes. And that's kind of, I think, going to be one of the problems we're going to see potentially, is that they don't want you to find the depth of their deception. They don't want you to uncover this. Trump has been uncovering it for the last 4 years, and that's why they so desperately want him out of office. How many GOP people congratulated Joe Biden on his presidential win? Think about that for a second. How many people? And I think a lot of people are saying, oh, you're a sore loser. You have to just, and Trump's a sore loser. You have to just accept that he lost and accept defeat. If you accept the results of an election where there is clear voter fraud, you will never see a normal election again. Ever. It'll never happen again. It's no longer up to us. We aren't voting. And I mean, if we're stupid enough to think we are, yeah, we are, but that only lasts for so long. One thing I've seen a lot of lately is not just these Republicans who are in office already and, who've already been reelected or who are not just up for reelection, congratulating Biden on his win, is a lot of people that voted for Trump whether you voted for him or not, it doesn't matter. But a lot of people, even that voted for him and he did have their support, are now just like, okay, it's time to move on. Now, this is true. If the candidate you vote for loses the election, a fair, honest election, actually loses officially, yeah, that is absolutely how we should move on. If Joe Biden, at the end of looking into these really important states and the states with really suspicious and very clear voter fraud, at the end of this, if Joe Biden is still the president-elect and actually receives all of these electoral votes, because that's what has to happen, that none of that has happened. He hasn't received any of these votes. That's why the media calling it for him, I'm not saying that because I refuse to accept results. They just aren't the results. They're projected results still. And normally the projected results are very accurate, or basically completely accurate after the first day or two, because there isn't election fraud, because there isn't things going on behind the scenes so vast that entire states' election systems, processes, ballots have to be looked into. Of course, in recent history, we have never changed the voting system so drastically 1 year, actually less than a year, before the election. Never. We've never changed from having regular voting machines, voting in person. Everybody knows how to vote. This is very normal, something we've been doing for a very long time, most adults and stuff, and just suddenly this year we changed it. And now I understand it's because of the COVID, but we can go wait in lines in the grocery store. We can actually wait in lines in some movie theaters now. It depends on what state you're in. You can wait in lines just about anywhere. In the mall, outside stores, you can go in those stores and you can walk around there, and you can go in restaurants and go to your table and sit down and eat and do all these things. Those things are safe. But you know what's still not safe, and I find very interesting? It's still not safe to go to church. And of course, unsurprisingly, it's still not safe to vote. And now, I mean, you can say all you want that it's not suspicious, it's just because of COVID, but it's really odd to me that we, as Pennsylvania voters, were told from the beginning, the beginning of this year almost, you're going to vote mail-in ballots, that's going to be a thing. And we're like, okay, of course, we'll still be able to vote in person. That's what we'll do. And so we voted in person, but no one said a word about paper ballots. It's weird. It's unusual that states, very important states, because again, Pennsylvania, incredibly important state, flipped red for Trump, needed to flip back to blue for Biden to win. What did it do? The very first night, we were completely red. Trump was winning by hundreds of thousands of votes. And the next morning, that lead was gone. And throughout that next day, that lead continued to diminish. And it's almost as if they found the votes they needed for Biden. Now, again, I know I can go on and on and on about how weird this is. And there's nothing to it without proof. But there's a lot of proof. They've found hundreds of voters in Pennsylvania who have been dead for a year to 20 years, or even more in some cases. If we can register dead people to vote and then actually have them cast ballots, we should just bring them back to life. I mean, that would be a much better use for them, right? They could just be alive. I didn't know that the government found a way to bring people back to life. This is the good, honest government because it's filled with good, honest people. It makes me sad that we elect people into office to vote for things that we care about, to vote, in our favor on issues that we care about, things like abortion, things like gun control, things that involve our rights and, safety of other people. We put that in the hands of the government. And what do they do with it? They throw it in our faces. That's what's happened in this election. That's what's going to happen in future elections if this is not under control. And I'm talking about this again only because as we're in the second week of it, I've seen so many people just saying, yeah, it's fine. Let's just be done with it. Accept it. Trump lost. Again, if Trump lost, I'm happy to accept it. I'm not going to riot. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to make a big deal of it. I'm not going to do anything that a lot of liberals did in 2016 when Donald Trump won. And there's pretty much every Republican with me on that front. Nobody's going to lose their mind over this and have a huge meltdown because we're not children. This person, President Donald Trump, who has for 4 years gone basically nonstop, and yeah, he golfs. Whether you think he's doing good things for this country or not, policy-wise, you cannot deny that he is constantly working. That's not how you become a billionaire. You don't just sit around playing golf. Unless you're maybe a pro golfer. But Trump is not. He made money because he's a fantastic, hardworking businessman. This man has been fighting for us, fighting for our rights, our freedoms, and simultaneously exposing the terrible corruption within our government. If there's nothing going on, if there's no voter fraud whatsoever, someone needs to explain to me why the head of the DOJ's Election Crimes Unit stepped down right after Barr said that we were going to do election inquiries. It's a little suspicious. It's kind of the same thing with the left gaslighting any election inquiries or claims of voter fraud, is that they say, no, we would never cheat. We don't have to cheat. Our candidate is that good. If that's true, just let us see. Let us check. And if we find out that's the truth, okay, we're satisfied. Same thing here. If you have nothing to hide, if you know that nothing is going to come out, nothing is wrong, you did your job, you should just trust the system, right? These are the people who create the system. People like Kamala Harris, who put people in jail for smoking weed, and then go on live TV. And in a bid to act relevant, these are the people that we put our trust in to do what's best for us. If you are on the left or the right, it shouldn't matter. This is one situation where we absolutely should all come together and be in agreement that we need fair, honest elections in this country. Because if we allow this to slide, if we allow it to happen, we will never see another fair, honest election in this country, not before another civil war. This right here is exactly what the left does. They take as much power from the American people as they possibly can, little by little, so we don't notice. So we think we're getting free things in exchange for nothing, for a vote. But you're not just voting for them. That's not what you're giving up. You're giving up your say in what happens to you. I think people are so drawn to liberal policies, young people especially, because it is the idea of free things. And it is the party of love and acceptance and tolerance and all of these wonderful things. And who doesn't want to be a part of that, right? This is the party who takes care of the poor and hates the rich because that's acceptable, right? Because if you're not rich, it's okay to hate them. This is the same party that is more concerned about the color of your skin than the contents of your brain and the content of your character. Yet they quote Martin Luther King Jr. all day, every day. The hypocrisy is not only ironic, it's insulting. Insulting that they think we are so stupid that we don't see what's happening. Again, if there's nothing to hide, if no one has cheated, let's look into it. Let's check it out. And let's just make sure the media got it right. No problem there, right? No problem checking it out unless you have something to hide. And I've seen a lot of Trump supporters even just kind of turn away, kind of give up on this, say that it's time to move on, he's lost, and if that's the case, that's the case. Let's move on. But let's make sure we're not doing this too hastily in an effort to look like we know how to make a good argument. Like, I know when I've lost, it's okay. I'll accept it gracefully. I'll gracefully accept defeat. There's a huge difference between gracefully accepting defeat and giving up. We're not giving up. We're fighting for Donald Trump because he's fought for us for the last 4 years, and we want him to do it for another 4. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can give me a thumbs up on YouTube. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and you can also check out my Instagram at right.this.way.